Elizabethan England saw the first permanent theater structures in England's history. The plays that were performed in England previous to this were done in temporary outdoor structures or in buildings that were used for purposes other than theater. There were plays and other entertainments done at court, but if a theater company wanted to make a living at theater, they had to travel from one makeshift stage to another. It wasn't until a man who was both an actor and a carpenter by the name of James Burbage undertook to create a permanent structure for the performing of plays in 1576 that England had a theatre for play production. The name of the first theatre of England was aptly called the Theatre. Burbage leased a plot of land just outside the city limits and undertook to create a structure that would be large enough to hold many paying ticket holders and to accommodate a stage on which plays would be presented. Burbage had to create a building that could control the patrons as they entered to see the play. His theater was a business, and he was trying to come up with a simple structure that would make money. Since there was no existing theater to use as a model, Burbage put together a theater structure based on several other buildings and architectural arrangements that accommodated similar entertainments. Burbage's theater plan was soon adopted by many other theater companies and stood as the basis for theater throughout the Elizabethan period. From surviving records, we know that the theater was a simple wood structure that was polygonal in shape. There was no roof on this theater, so there was no need to devise a way to light the play productions that were performed there. Inside the theater, there were galleries that rose up perhaps 2 levels high. In these galleries were benches or seats where patrons could pay a little higher ticket price to view the action from above the stage. To utilize as much of the interior of the theater as possible, Burbage also sold tickets to the pit area below the stage. The pit was a dirt floor that surrounded the stage on 3 sides. In this sense, it was the first thrust theater space. In the pit, patrons, known as groundlings, would stand to view the play production. The price of admission into this area was only a penny. The theater was the model for what became known as the public playhouses. These theaters were called public playhouses due to the fact that they were intended for the general public. Plays were performed in the afternoon, as the only source of lights for these productions was the sun. Here is a drawing of the only existing drawn image of a public theater that was actually rendering during the Elizabethan period. All other images of public theaters of this period are conjectural drawings based on records that were passed down. This drawing was done by a Dutch traveler who sent back this picture of the Swan Theater in a letter to his home. There were 3 major influences which led to the physical structure of the public playhouses. Those were gaming arenas, inns of court, and medieval staging practices. The location for popular pastimes in Elizabethan England were the gaming arenas. These were wooden structures of a polygonal shape that, with raised seating and a pit with dirt floor, bear baiting and bull baiting took place. In its best-known form, arenas for this purpose were called gaming arenas, or bear gardens. These polygonal-shaped structures consisted of a circular, high fenced area called the pit and raised seating for the spectators. A post would be set in the ground toward the edge of the pit and a bear chained to it, either by the leg or neck. A number of well-trained hunting dogs would be set on the bear, being replaced as they were tired, wounded, or killed. It is generally believed that Burbage designed his polygonal-shaped theater based on these gaming arenas. The Inns of Court of Elizabethan England were training centers for barristers. The early Inns of Court were 2 to 3 stories high, with a courtyard built in the center. There were galleries which extended over the courtyard. Plays were often performed in these courtyards on makeshift stages. Those in attendance would stand in the galleries above the stage to view the action of the play. Burbage, no doubt, performed plays in this setting and saw the advantage of stacking patrons on top of one another in getting the largest number of ticket buyers into a small space. Finally, the public theaters of Elizabethan England borrowed from the medieval staging practices of the earlier period. During the medieval period, plays were performed on a flat wagon that was rolled into a town square. Behind this flat wagon was another wagon on which a tent or a temporary structure was mounted for the actors to make their entrances and exits. The stage wagon was referred to as the platea. The scene house wagon was referred to as the mansion. Burbage took these basic ideas and built a raised stage which was backed by a stage house that was larger but similar in nature to the medieval mansion. These scene houses became more sophisticated as time went on. This scene house also had a balcony attached to it, which became a small but popular playing space. This was obviously in Shakespeare's mind when he wrote Romeo and Juliet. Well, it's now time for you to go to your task for this section. Next time, we will look at another unique physical theater that came into being during the Elizabethan period, referred to as the private theaters. We'll see you next time.